Hello and welcome to the Environment This Week series section of Drishti IAS. I'm Aisha, and in today's episode we will be covering topics from the environment and ecology perspective which has happened in the last 1 week. So let us start, and the topics that we will be covering today are Ramsar Convention, Project Elephant, Simlipal Tiger Reserve, sea level rise and the increase in ground level ozone. So these are the 5 topics important from General Studies paper 3, that is environment and ecology. So before we start, on the occasion of Independence Day, Drishti IAS has come up with a 40% flat discount on all online pen drive, test series and DLP courses, and plus you can get 20% discount on Drishti IAS books. So the offer is valid until August 18th. In the description box, the link is given where you can go and click and can avail the special discount, or you can download the Drishti Learning app, or you can also call us on 8010440440. So do not miss out on this opportunity and make your preparation easy. So let's start with today's episode. The first topic is the Ramsar Convention. So recently 3 more sites have been added in the Ramsar Convention from India, and the total number of sites in India has reached 85. So let us start. First of all, about what is Ramsar Convention. So Ramsar Convention is an intergovernmental organization. Intergovernmental means different governments coming together. Then it was adopted on 2nd February 1971 in the Iranian city of Ramsar. So Ramsar is a city which is present in Iran. Then if we talk about India's respect, then in India, Ramsar Convention came into force in 1st February 1982, under which wetlands of international importance are declared as Ramsar sites. So in India it came into force in 1982, and under the Ramsar Convention, the wetlands which are important or which are considered important from the perspective of international importance, they are declared as Ramsar sites. And the World Wetland Day is celebrated on 2nd of February. Total Ramsar sites in India is 85, and the highest number of Ramsar sites in India is present in Tamil Nadu. It is around 18 Ramsar sites. Now let us talk about Ramsar Convention overall. So Ramsar Convention, it is also known as the Convention on Wetlands, Intergovernmental Treaty adopted in 1971, entered into force in 1975. Then wetlands that are of international importance are declared as Ramsar sites. Largest Ramsar site is present in South America. Then about Montreux's record, the record under which all the Ramsar sites are placed. So it was adopted in Montreux, which is present in Switzerland, in the year 1990. Then it identifies Ramsar sites that need priority conservation attention at national or international level. So all the Ramsar sites which need conservation, it is mentioned under the Montreux record. Then about wetlands. So what is a wetland? Then a wetland is a place in which the land is covered by water which is salt, fresh or somewhere in between, that is either seasonally or permanently. So the land which is covered with water. Then it can take many forms, including rivers, marshes, bogs, mangroves, mud flats, ponds, swamps, lagoon, lakes and floodplains. World Wetland Day, as I just told you, is celebrated on 2nd of February. So this is about wetlands. Then India and Ramsar Convention came into force in 1982. Total number of sites are 85. Examples we can give you, like for example Chilika Lake, Keoladeo National Park, Harike Lake, Loktak Lake, Gular Lake and many more. Then key facts, the largest Ramsar site in India is the Sundarban, West Bengal. Then the smallest Ramsar site is Tamil Nadu, Vembanur Wetland. Then state within the maximum number of Ramsar sites are placed is Tamil Nadu, 18. Then wetlands in Montreux record are Keoladeo National Park, that is Rajasthan, and Loktak Lake, that is Manipur. So these two are placed in the Montreux record. It means urgent conservation needs are important for these two wetlands. Then comes the next topic, and that is the Project Elephant. Project Elephant, because the World Elephant Day was recently celebrated. So let us talk about elephants. So the Project Elephant was launched in the year 1992, covering 23 states across India, and the major objective was to protect the population of elephants and make the population or the count of elephants in India to larger or greater extent. It means that the number of population of elephants in India must rise. So it improved the status of wild elephants with a population increase from about 25,000 in 1992 to around 30,000 in the year 2021. So the major area of concern was that the population of elephants must increase. Then elephants are considered as keystone species, flagship species or umbrella species, because they are big species. The place or the region where they are present, they represent that region, and umbrella species because their conservation will result into the conservation of many smaller things present in that area. Then India has the largest number of wild Asian elephants. Karnataka has the highest number of elephants in India. So if we talk about the state wise, then in India, Karnataka state has the highest number of elephants, followed by Assam and Kerala. Now if we talk about the conservation status of Asian elephant and African elephant, then if we go by the IUCN status, then Asian elephant is endangered, African elephant is critically endangered. CMS, that is Asian elephant, is Appendix 1, African elephant is Appendix 2. Wildlife Protection Act 1972, elephant comes under Schedule 1. It means highest protection is given to them. Under CITES, Asian elephant is Appendix 1, African elephant is Appendix 2. So these are the conservation status of both Asian elephant and African elephants. Now about the objectives of Project Elephant. So the objectives are conservation planning, combat illegal trade, prevent death and restore habitats. Restore habitats because one of the major threats for the habitat of elephant is the taking of their habitat or land with regard to the industrialization or urbanization. As the area of their habitat is becoming small, so the elephants are not able to find proper space to move around. Then prevent death. The reason for the death of elephants have been on a rise. For example, the human-animal conflict, electrocution. So these are few of the reasons which because of which the death of the elephants are on a rise, and also because of poaching. The tusk of elephant is one of the reasons why the elephants are killed. Then combat illegal trade, and this illegal trade is also because of the tusk of the elephant. Then conservation planning. The number must rise in the coming times. Then threats to elephants, as we have discussed few of it just now, that is habitat loss and fragmentation because of industrialization and urbanization. As industrialization and urbanization demand land area, and also the population rise, as there is the more and more the population will increase, the more area population will need. And from where the area will come? The area will come when the forests will be cut down and deforestation will take place. Then human and elephant conflict, one of the major reason, and the state where we hear a lot about the human elephant conflict is Kerala. Then poaching for the tusk of elephant and illegal trade takes place. Then accidental deaths due to train collision and electrocution. Train collision, the number of deaths because of train collision was on a rise in the recent past, and one of the reason to prevent the train collision is the beekeeping. That wherever the place where elephant and train can come in contact with each other, their bees are kept there so that it makes or it keeps the elephant away from the train. Then comes the next topic, and that is the Simlipal Tiger Reserve. So Simlipal Tiger Reserve is located within the Mayurbhanj district, and the state where it is present is Odisha. So if we will look at the map of Odisha, then Simlipal Tiger Reserve is present in the northern Odisha, and you can say it is present in the north east side. So this is Simlipal Tiger Reserve. So Simlipal Tiger Reserve was declared a tiger reserve in the year 1956, and it was included under the National Conservation Program that is named as Project Tiger in 1973. So that is how it became a tiger reserve. Then the World Network of Biosphere Reserve by UNESCO in the year 2009. So it was also included in the UNESCO Network of Biosphere Reserve, that is UNESCO Biosphere Reserve in the year 2009. If we talk about the vegetation of the Simlipal Tiger Reserve, then vegetation, it is a mix of different forest types and habitats with northern tropical moist deciduous dominating some semi-evergreen patches. So the vegetation is a mix. Then Simlipal Tiger Reserve is also considered the only landscape in the world that is home to melanistic tiger. Melanistic tigers are special type of tigers, or you can say that they are rare tigers, and under them the quantity, or you can say the quantity of melanin is very high, and this quantity or the range of melanin which is high gives them a rare sight or a rare color. So it gives them a little black shade. So they are more black in color as compared to other tigers. And the region around the Simlipal Tiger Reserve is home to a variety of tribes, like for example Kola, Santhal, Bhumija, Bhatudi, Gonds, Khadia. So there are different kinds of tribes also which lives around the Simlipal Tiger Reserve. Then the dominant tree species is the sal. If we talk about the flora, then around 1078 species of plants are found there, including 94 species of orchids. So you can say that the species of orchids are very dominant in Simlipal Tiger Reserve. Then if we talk about the fauna, then leopard, gaur, elephant, langur, barking and spotted deer, sloth bear, mongoose, flying squirrel and many more. So this was about the Simlipal Tiger Reserve. Then next is the sea level rise. So recently a report came out, and the report talks about that the rate at which the sea level rise is taking place. So by the year 2040, cities like Mangaluru and Udupi will be submerged to a greater extent. Now what is sea level rise? This term we hear a lot in news nowadays. So sea level rise is basically that the level of sea as compared to earlier times is increasing, and because the level of sea is increasing, it means that the land is getting submerged. So the report talks about that 5% of the land in coastal Karnataka's Mangaluru and Udupi could get submerged by the year 2040. So 5% of a land is a major area of land. Now let us talk about the rate of sea level rise in India. We have understood what is sea level rise. Now imagine this is the land. During the time of 1990s, this was the sea level 1990s, and now this is 2024. So 2024, I'm just giving you an example. This is the position where the sea level rise has taken place. So because it is increasing, so this is a point of concern. So according to the Ministry of Earth Science, on an average, the sea level along the Indian coast was observed to be rising at a rate of around 1.7 mm year during the last century. That is from 1900 to 2000, it was increasing with 1.7 mm a year. So 1.7 mm a year. So you can calculate that how much it will increase. Then 3 centimeter sea level rise could cause the sea to intrude inland by about 17 meters. Then at further rate of 5 centimeter per decade, this could be 300 meters of land taken by the sea in a century. So in a century, around 300 meters of land will be taken by the sea. So with time or with a slow and a gradual process in the coming times, a large number of land will be taken by the sea. Then why India is more susceptible? So India is most vulnerable to compounding impacts of sea level rise. And if we talk about from the perspective of Indian Ocean, so Indian Ocean, half of sea level rise is due to the volume of water expanding since the ocean is warming up rapidly. Whenever we talk about the sea level rise, so the one word which comes to our mind, that is glacier. So whenever you will ask anyone, the most common reason that people will say that why the sea level rise is taking place, so that is the melting of the glacier or the melting of the iceberg or the melting of the ice sheets. So that is also one of the reasons, or precipitation, that is also one of the reason, but that is not the main reason. So in India, one of the main reason is the warming of the Indian Ocean. And when the warming of the Indian Ocean takes place, so the water tends to expand. And when the water tends to expand because of the high temperature, then when it expands, it is increasing in volume. So when it is increasing in volume, it is taking over the land. So the contribution from glacier melt is not as high as the volume of water expanding. Then the Indian Ocean is the fastest warming ocean in terms of surface warming. So fastest warming ocean. Next comes the increase in ground level ozone. So recently it was observed that the ground level ozone was on a rise. Now let us talk about what is ozone. So ozone is composed of 3 atoms of oxygen, that is O3. So 3 atom of oxygen. So ozone can be good or bad. It is not that ozone is only good or ozone is only bad. It is both good or bad for your health and the environment, depending on the location in the atmosphere. So it is decided by the position that ozone holds in the atmosphere, be it in stratosphere or troposphere. So the gas that occurs both in the Earth's upper atmosphere and at ground level. So ozone is present in both the upper atmosphere or at the ground level. Now let us talk about the good and bad ozone. First of all, we will talk about the bad ozone. Now ozone occurs in 2 layers of the atmosphere. So the layer which is closest to the Earth's surface is the troposphere. Now see, if this is the Earth atmosphere, so there are different layers in it. So be it troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, ionosphere. So this is troposphere, second is stratosphere. So the layer which is closest to the Earth is the troposphere. And here the ground level or bad ozone is an air pollutant that is harmful to breathe and it damages crops, trees and other vegetation. So the ozone which is present in the troposphere, that ozone is considered to be bad ozone, because ozone which is present in the troposphere is considered to be an air pollutant. And it is a main ingredient of urban smog also. Then comes the second layer, and that is stratosphere, and that is considered the good ozone. So stratosphere is considered the good ozone, and it extends upward from about 3 to 30, from 6 to 30 miles, not 3 to 35 miles, from 6 to 30 miles, and it protects life on Earth from the sun's harmful ultraviolet rays. So as I just told you, look at this again. So this is troposphere. The ozone which is present in troposphere, it is considered a pollutant and is harmful, while the ozone which is present in stratosphere, it is considered good because it protects the Earth from the sun's harmful ultraviolet rays, that is UV rays. Now how ground level ozone is caused? So what causes them? So it is not emitted directly into the air. So it is not emitted directly into the air, but it is created by chemical reaction between oxides of nitrogen and volatile organic compound in the presence of sunlight. So it is oxide of nitrogen plus volatile organic compound in the presence of sunlight, and this is what causes ground level ozone. So ozone comes So oxides of nitrogen plus volatile organic compound is equals to ozone in the presence of sunlight. Now ozone pollution during the summer months. Now what happened during the summer months? So strong sunlight and hot weather result in harmful ozone concentrations in the air we breathe. So strong sunlight and hot weather. Now what happens that if the much of the air is not moving and the air is static, then also the concentration of ozone will increase. And in the many rural areas of the country, they are also subject to high ozone levels as winds carry emissions hundreds of miles away from their original source. So it is, see, wind has a tendency to move from one place to another place. So it carries something from one place and it takes with it to another place also. So it is not necessary what you are able to see at one place that has originated at that particular place. Then what are the effects of ozone? Effect on human health, it can be very harmful for human health and it can adverse the already bad condition of health, specifically among the children or among the senior citizens. Like for example, it can cause chest pain, coughing, throat irritation, congestion, and it can also worsen bronchitis, emphysema and asthma. If we talk from the perspective of vegetation, then it can cause reduced agricultural crop and commercial forest yields, reduced growth and survivability of trees, seedlings, and increased susceptibility to diseases. So ground level ozone is basically harmful, while the ozone which is present in the stratosphere is useful. So these are the 5 topics that we discussed. So we discussed about the sea level rise, we discussed about the ground level ozone, we discussed about the project elephant. Then in the starting, what all we discussed about the Simlifal tiger reserve. And what was the first point that we discussed? It was the Ramsar convention. And the total number of sites, how many has increased in India? Total is 85 now. Now the practice questions, and you people will give me the answer in the comment section. And there are 5 practice questions, so give me answer like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and write the answer of every question. First, how many Ramsar sites are present in India? 80, 85, 90 or 95? Second, which Indian state has the highest population of elephants in India? That is Tamil Nadu, Assam, Karnataka or Kerala. Then the Simlipal Tiger Reserve is situated in which of the following states? That is Odisha, West Bengal, Chhattisgarh or Uttarakhand. Fourth, the World Meteorological Organization headquarters is based in London, New Delhi, New York or Geneva. So I have not discussed this in the video because I want you to give me the answer. Go and read about this and give me the answer. Fifth, consider the following question, and this is a PYQ, UPSC PYQ of the year 2019. So consider the following: carbon monoxide, methane, ozone and sulfur dioxide. Which of the above are released into atmosphere due to the burning of crop or biomass residue? 1 and 2 only, 2, 3 and 4 only, 1 and 4 only, or 1, 2, 3 and 4. So these are the 5 practice questions that you have to answer. So give me the answer in the comment section. And that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Till we meet next time, keep reading, keep writing and keep subscribing to the channel. Thank you.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.